What you're going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle. Sound waves reaching the microphone are changed into impulses of electric current.
That was a smooth transition. Not really. Hello, everyone at stupid o'clock in the morning. As you can see, my cereals in the background. Welcome to the DEFCON 201 live stream. My name is Side Pocket. I am one of the co-founders of DEFCON 201. We are a computer hacker group located in Jersey City, New Jersey. We normally meet third Friday of the month, but because of COVID and Trump's Gestapo and general human stupidity outside in the United States, we have not only been broadcasting our meetings, but we've also been broadcasting different topics and shows. If you want to find out more about us, you can check us at defcon201.org. And if you like the content that you're seeing right now and seeing in the future, yay, Squelchstone, hack the planet, you can hit that bell, follow, subscribe, like, or whatever on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube, whatever platform we're on. We love follows, particularly on Twitch. We can actually see the pop-ups for them. And hopefully this time we'll actually see if someone raids us, because someone did last time, but I was out doing stuff. You're probably going to see me run in and out a lot. That's what she said. But run in and out a lot. I might have the camera on or off, because today's going to be a very busy day today, personally, in the as N Commander calls it, the Chateau 201 household. But the reason why we're broadcasting at stupid o'clock in the morning is because there's going to be a ton of cool content today. I lied about it being the longest broadcast last time. Today and tomorrow is going to be the longest broadcast. It's going to be very long and hard and throbbing and all of that good stuff. So, we are going to go into some things. I also figured something out, by the way. So, remember we were having problems trying to interact and meet with the Dim Sum Labs people? Well, I kept forgetting they were located in Hong Kong, so they're running on Hong Kong time. And you know that saying that you could dig a hole to China? Well, the United States is literally on the opposite side of the globe that China's on, so they're in the reverse. So right now, it's noon p.m., it's 12 a.m. over there. That's how that works. So when it's a.m., it's p.m. here, it's a.m. over there, and when it's p.m. here, it's a.m. over there. So the problem was not us trying to stream late. We need to stream more early. So right now, everyone's asleep. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to go into Dim Sum Labs. I'm going to record, pre-record interacting with them, and then hopefully show that on air. I do want to shrink myself here, like I do. And quickly go over today's agenda before we go into the talk that's going on right now. So the reason why we started this early is because there's two talks on facial recognition. One's going on right now, which is about who actually has facial recognition data and how the EFF has worked on programs to stop it. The other is analysis of ClearView AI, which is the centralized company that does almost all the facial recognition software out there. Then this is going to be weird and crazy, because we're going to look at the keynote, which is Flavio Aggio. He's from the World Health Organization. He's going to be talking about hacks that are going on, taking advantage of the COVID pandemic. But at the same time, there's this really awesome Python plus Telnet workshop going on. So if this is pre-recorded, I will save it and play it for later today in the stream, but we might be hopping back and forth between both. Then we're going to check out the XLterrestrials presentation, which is their Synkio project, because it wouldn't be Hope unless there was some crazy art tech project performance going on. Then we're going to, if this is pre-recorded, we'll air this here, but we're going to watch one of the documentaries from the anarchist hacker village. The hack it at 9 layers of political hacking. It's going to last roughly for an hour. And then finally, we're going to check our friends at Tech Learning Collective again, who I absolutely love, about password cracking. Because I've seen a bunch of their workshops, but I've never seen their password cracking on. So this one should be very, very fascinating. So without further ado, let's watch Who Owns Your Face. And I just want to warn, either the camera will be on and nothing will be going on, or the camera might be off during this. However, we are still reading the chat, so if you have any questions or shout outs, please let us know. We're still going to be interacting with the chat. So without further ado, let's look at our friends at the EFF and the EFA.
Archive and on social media platforms. If you'd like to learn more about what EFF does, you can go to eff.org/30. The fights against misuse of technology, the fights to protect your privacy, the fight to fight back against surveillance.
Let's reload the stream again, because it's a little pixelated right now. Come on. There we go. Alright, let's try this again. There we go. Now we can see things, because it looked like what it looks like when I don't have my glasses on.
A coders' rights team that you
and that's a little more blurry, but
that
whatever.
Helps defend programmers and developers who are doing security research. Then with our technology projects or tech projects team, we build privacy protective software. So you might be familiar with the difference between an HTTP website and an HTTPS website. In fact, you're probably more familiar than I am. The team at Let's Encrypt and CertBot helps people install those SSL certificates. I hope I'm getting that right, to ensure that websites are secure and encrypted. The Privacy Badger team builds a tool called Privacy Badger that protects you from third-party trackers, cookies that follow you around the web, to make sure your experience of the web is more private. Then we have an activism team. That's the team that I'm on and the team that Matthew's on. We focus on digital campaigns around legislation and also just around broad education. So you might have noticed a few months ago, the .org domain was potentially going to be taken over by a private equity firm. And the activism team, along with legal and tech, worked on that. We also do education on the activism team. What that means is essentially that we build websites, we build tools that help educate people around technology and its use. One of the tools or educational tools that we've created is called street level surveillance. So street level surveillance is essentially an educational website that tells people about the sorts of surveillance that is out there being used by law enforcement. An example, face recognition, but additional examples might be body-worn cameras, cell site simulators, social media surveillance, and drones. So why does this matter? Why does EFF fight back against unrestrained surveillance? To put it bluntly, surveillance like this makes it harder for us to live our lives. If you know that you're being watched by police because they're using automated license plate readers to follow your car wherever it goes, are you more likely or less likely to do things? Even if those things aren't dangerous, just knowing that you're being surveilled can chill your ability to freely associate and express yourself. This also can potentially infringe on your First Amendment rights. For example, after the Freddie Gray murder in Baltimore a few years ago, police used social media surveillance to determine who had been at the protests and arrest those individuals. Now, if you have a restriction or feel a restriction on posting things on social media because police are going to surveil that, you're less likely to use it and post those things. These different pieces of surveillance all come together to create a kind of broad, dangerous surveillance network by both government and law enforcement that overall can make it less likely for you to live the life that you would like to live. With EFF's work on digital rights, we tend to focus on the surveillance tools themselves, but the way these tools work can restrict everything that you do, from online work to offline work. So how is EFF fighting back against misuse of facial recognition technology within the context of these three areas? Primarily through activism. We know that right now there's time to ban facial recognition technology's use by government and law enforcement, but people need to know how it's used, what it does, and that they can actually ban this tool. So usually EFF's work involves a lot of blogs, a lot of white papers, and a lot of testimony, basically a lot of text. But what we've worked on over the last few years is expanding into a little bit more interactive tools that can give people a better, clearer sense of how surveillance affects them. Even though we'd like to say, this is what, and we do say, this is what a surveillance camera looks like, the better option would be for us to walk to a city with people and give them a tour and say, that's a surveillance camera and here's how it works, so that you know where surveillance cameras exist within your own community. We're working on that. So to start, in 2018, EFF launched Spot the Surveillance, which is a VR experience that teaches people to recognize how to identify spying technologies that police might use in their own communities. Now, it's not specific to any area, it's just a single location, but the idea is to educate people on how surveillance works and what it looks like. Just this month, we launched the Atlas of Surveillance. The Atlas is a map that, as well as a searchable database that lets you zoom around the US, looking at what police departments use which surveillance tech, from drones to cell site simulators to body-worn cameras to facial recognition technology. You can see in this version of the map that I'm selecting which Bay Area police departments use facial recognition technology, and then I'm zooming out to show you that there are 360 overall across the United States. That's just the beginning. That's certainly not all of them. You'll notice a cluster in Washington, D.C., as well as in Florida. Now, in D.C., that's because there are a lot of federal agencies that have used facial recognition technology. And in Florida, there's been a push for a long time now to use facial recognition. And Florida actually has the oldest facial recognition database in the country. The Atlas was put together using publicly available records, like budgetary records and news stories about law enforcement surveillance tech. So if there was a budget listing, a budget item from the police department about a facial recognition tool, it might be in the Atlas. Or if there was a news story about someone being captured or apprehended or identified using facial recognition, that might also be in the Atlas. But there are thousands and thousands of departments we simply don't have the research for yet, because the Atlas was just launched and it will never be comprehensive. And additionally, most states and cities don't actually require police to have a public hearing about the surveillance tech that they buy. It might never become clear what they have access to. So we have the Spot the Surveillance tool, we have the Atlas of Surveillance tool. In the case of face recognition, what we'd really like is to build a customized list telling you who has your face. That's what we tried to build with the Who Has Your Face tool. By answering a few questions, you can determine which agencies likely have access to your facial recognition photo. I'll get into that in a bit. So how does law enforcement hide its use of surveillance tech? Basically, I showed you what Atlas can tell us, but there are lots of departments that we don't know use facial recognition technology. Here's how they do it. They use private companies like Amazon or ClearView to give them access to the tool that they wouldn't otherwise use. So let's go through a few examples of the kinds of facial recognition tools that police often use. We'll start with ClearView AI. And ClearView was a tool that came to light in January. In January, no one really knew what it meant when a law enforcement department listed that they had a contract with ClearView. Now we know that ClearView AI is a facial recognition company that scraped 3 billion images from the web, from places like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Venmo. And this company claims that it has more than 1,000 law enforcement officers or agencies that have contracts with it. This includes the Justice Department, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and even organizations like the New Jersey Attorney General's Office were surprised to learn that police departments within New Jersey were not only using the tool when this New York Times story broke about it, but they were using an image of the Attorney General to sell their services to other agencies. Until just a month ago, Amazon's recognition software was a cheap and easily available facial recognition tool for law enforcement. You can see in this table that if you're familiar with the AWS, Amazon Web Services payment structure, Amazon's recognition makes it easy for people to pay a small amount of money to submit thousands and thousands of images one at a time or in bulk to recognition. Now, just this month, some companies have started to at least publicly recognize the danger this technology poses when it's used by government and law enforcement.
Yep, that sounds
Amazon
like New Jersey.
has paused its law enforcement use of the software until 2021. Their claim is that by then, there will be safeguards or regulations in place. IBM, meanwhile, has completely sworn off making the software. There will always be some company willing to make and sell law enforcement this sort of technology. The bottom line is that we need to ban its use by government agencies. Perhaps a bigger problem than these private companies selling law enforcement agencies access to facial recognition technology and software is the use of government databases that already exist for facial recognition technology. You might have seen a report that Georgetown University's Center on Privacy and Technology put out about a year ago called Perpetual Lineup. And one of the important points that report and website make is that over half of Americans are already in facial recognition databases accessible by police. That's because over the years, government agencies like DMVs across the country, as well as federal agencies like the Department of State, have implemented facial recognition technology on the databases that they already have holding images for your photo IDs. So you'll see in this picture, a passport, a driver's license, and a visa. These databases all have facial recognition technology, and some of that technology, like with state DMVs, was initially used to defend against fraud, so that when you go to the DMV and you take a picture, the DMV knows that there's already a license submitted or given to a person that looks just like you. But over the years, these state DMVs and federal agencies have started expanding the use of facial recognition technology beyond those fraud protective purposes. Most federal agencies have been sneakily signing memorandums of understanding with their DMVs, allowing them to request access to the DMV facial recognition databases that hold millions of headshots from government IDs. To give you a quick understanding of how facial recognition technology is accessed through DMVs by law enforcement and other government agencies, I'm going to play a quick video from Claire Garvey in the New York Times. Claire Garvey is a privacy expert and a facial recognition technology researcher at Georgetown. And this video appeared just a few months ago. You might know Claire from her work on Perpetual Lineup.
We're all getting comfortable with face recognition, unlocking our phones, skipping airport lines, and even unlocking front doors. But the convenience is blinding us to how risky this technology actually is and how it is being used without us realizing. I'm Claire Garvey. My job is to research the use of face recognition technology by law enforcement and then make recommendations around the use of the technology. Right now, most Americans are in a perpetual police lineup because they got a driver's license.